Hello, everybody, and welcome to Decoding the WSL, the podcast dedicated to the stats and facts in the WSL. On today's episode, it is all about Manchester United. We're going to be having a look ahead to the 25-26 season and sort of previewing the year ahead. We're going to have a look at what happened over the summer, any sort of changes, any changes that might happen still as well, and then making some predictions for the future ahead. And of course, we'll be playing Know Your Stat at the end. You don't have to listen to me for a whole hour. Don't worry, listener. We've got a great panel on with us. The first one that I'm going to introduce you to is someone that is a regular on the pod. In fact, such a regular that today, I don't know if he knows this, but it is his 20th decoding appearance. It's Jacob Bernstein. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I like the stat, thank you. We are currently, I think it's about 3.5 weeks away from the start of the WSL season. So yeah, I'm looking more and more forward as time goes on.
I know you've only got 3.5 weeks left of Spurs not losing, so take it in while you can. Someone else who we've got on the pod, not 20 episodes in, but actually making her podcast debut, someone that isn't a Spurs fan, as you might be able to tell by the way, is Ella Smetana. Ella, how are you doing?
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here. Better side of North London, that should be stated. I know you're in agreement with me on that. Yeah. But no, thanks for having me on. It's lovely to be here with you guys.
No, thanks for coming on. Obviously, I said podcast debut there, but it's not necessarily the first time that you are talking about football with a microphone/camera in your face, is it? Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about some of the other stuff you've done?
Yeah, well, I'm studying football journalism at university at the moment, but alongside that, I've been doing some stuff on and off with AFTV and DR Sports. So, yeah, I've done a little bit of camera work here and there, but this is my first WSL podcast, so it is a bit of a debut.
So debut in some senses, and obviously straight to the top of the CV as well. Looking forward to seeing that on there. And our final person on the panel. Yeah, our final person on the panel is someone that I had to get on for the Manchester United episode. It is a man that probably knows more about his club than I think anyone else does. Probably more than the rest of us combined. It is Connor Roberts. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I like that introduction. I should take that over to my own channel see if I can get some of the other guys to introduce me like that. I don't get that welcome when I go over there, but no, it's good to be back.
I haven't copyrighted it, so feel free to introduce yourself with it if you want to. It's absolutely fine with me. But yeah, you were on last season. You were on last season for our. We did an Arsenal Manchester United preview in one episode today, but obviously we're just going to be talking purely about your club, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you're going to know a few bits about it and have some good takes on it. Do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. Not every United fan's going to agree with me, but that's why we love the game, isn't it? Because not everyone's going to agree on absolutely everything. But Manchester United is a circus at times, but a club that we love. Anyway, so yeah, no, it'd be good to talk about them and the upcoming WSL season for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, to be fair, like that with their club. And yeah, like you say, not everyone's going to agree on everything, but that's fine. This is just our opinions. We're probably not going to even agree with each other at some points, but let's get into it. Let's start with looking at last season. Obviously, Manchester United finished third in the WSL, 1 point ahead of their rivals, Manchester City. They scored the fourth most goals in the league, but had the second fewest conceded. So yeah, I guess that averages out to third. Elizabeth Turland was the player in the WSL with the most goal involvements last season with 15. She was the third top scorer and also had the most XG. Fallon Tullis-Joyce with the most clean sheets and the most goals prevented. So not just a team performance overall, but also a few people standing out. That third place as well means that Manchester United qualified for the Champions League this year, early rounds. Some of the other competitions were reaching another FA Cup final. I think third time in the 7 seasons that you've existed, which is an insane stat. The Subway Cup quarter-final where you lost to City. And I know it's not technically a big competition, but I think reaching the World Sevens final, yes, it's sort of this fun summer competition, but there was a lot of prize money in that. So I think reaching the final of that, even if you did lose to Bayern in the final, was a notable achievement. Connor, how would you sort of rate Manchester United season last year? Was it above expectations, below, about on par?
I mean, firstly, the World Sevens was the best tournament I think I have ever watched. Manchester United ever competed. It was absolutely brilliant, and just what the women's game needs as well. I thought that was just a superb tournament all around. In terms of expectations, it was the hope that we would get back into the top three, and obviously did that. Tailed off towards the end. The performance, particularly in the league, wasn't great, and a very disappointing final in the FA Cup, versus Chelsea. So it was where I thought we would go, where most fans expected the team to be. I think competing for the title is probably still a couple of years away, and probably even further away now with the investment we've seen at Arsenal and Chelsea over the last couple of months as well this summer. But yeah, so it was an expected season. I think the summer has been disappointing so far, where we sit at the moment. You get Champions League again. We've got qualifiers in at the time of recording this 2 weeks' time, and one player through the door is nowhere near enough to compete. Where United would I would hope want the team to be next season. So yeah, it's a strange feeling. When I look back at the season, I think there's a lot of positives there, but the summer has kind of deflated a lot of United fans, if I'm being totally honest, because that momentum that the team had and the positivity went to the Sevens tournament that was mentioned. Everything was positive, and we're sat here middle of August, one signing through the door, contracts renewed that maybe didn't excite fans, and it's just a bit like flat now. And it's a strange feeling when I look back at the season. But I hope by the time we get around to the WSL that there'll be some positives to talk about.
Yeah, there is still time left in the transfer window, obviously. Listener, we're recording this on the 11th of August, so there's still time to get players in. There will be a bit of, there's not been many transfers so far. We'll come to that in a moment, as well as some of the staff changes. But I know last season, myself and Jacob went to the final game. We're in the press conference with Mark Skinner afterwards, after Arsenal against Man United. And I asked him about how he thought the season went overall and his sort of overall expectations compared to the final result. And this is what he had to say.
Anyone else? Hello.
Hey, Mark. I just wanted to ask sort of a bigger picture thing, because you've had, we've used the fewest players in the WSL this season. You've had the second youngest average age, and you obviously had a big change over the summer. You lost your main goalkeeper and your captain. Is there a place you'd have taken at the start of the season, or do you think you're expected to do better, worse?
No. Look, the reality is at Manchester United, you should always have a lofty ambition. We've got an ambitious, I think everyone knows, our ambition is to win the league by 2028. You know how hard that's going to be, right? But if you don't set that, you never have that fighting spirit to do it. I'd rather overachieve. Like that's what I think we're capable of doing. If you said to me at the start of the year, look, you're gonna play really well, you're gonna have lots of growth in the season, and you're gonna finish third, and an FA Cup final again, I'd have taken that, if I'm being really honest. But that doesn't mean I'm defeatist on not trying to win the league. I want to be clear on that. My ambition as a human is to drive this team, even if it exhausts me, to try and win a title. As much as you might all be sitting there going, okay, Chelsea had lost a game. I totally understand that. I'm not crazy. But if I don't have that, I don't get up every day and drive my players to achieving what we can achieve. So I think all in all, I'll be really pleased. But we've got this one big event left, and I'm going to make sure that we're fully engaged and ready for that.
So let's move on to what's happened this summer. So as we've already touched on a little bit, there's not been a whole host of signings just yet. So I kind of wish that Manchester United had given us a little bit more to talk about, but there it is. We can't necessarily help that. But one signing they have brought in, I think, is a really good signing. Jacob, I'm going to come to you on this because I know that you will have some stats on this. Even though I haven't asked you yet, I just know you will. Julia Zigiotti-Olmi, who has come in from Bayern Munich, obviously has a little bit of WSL experience already. What can she bring to Manchester United this season?
Yeah, I think I'm excited by the Zigiotti-Olmi transfer. I think, as Connor mentioned, kind of having only one transfer through the door with a few weeks left until the season starts is maybe slightly worrying, but I think Zigiotti-Olmi brings a lot of quality. She signed a 2-year contract at United. She spent 1 year at Bayern, and in that year won both the Frauen Bundesliga and the DFK Pokal. I think most notably where people may have kind of watched her and seen her was the Euro 2025, the recent Euros. And alongside a host of Swedish players, I thought Zigiotti-Olmi was really impressive. She started 3 of the 4 Sweden games in the Euros, playing 286 minutes. She got an assist, and that assist was in the England game. She set up Black Dennis's goal for that second goal, which put Sweden 2-0 up in the quarterfinal. And she also scored in the shootout past Hannah Hampton, one of only two, I think, Swedish scorers in that penalty shootout. Zagotty Olmo brings WSL experience with 2 years at Brighton. And I think, there's a lot of encouragement. I think United have quite a strong kind of starting 11, but I think potentially where they maybe lack is that depth. So I think Zagotty Olmo brings depth in their squad, and I think if they can maybe bulk out their squad a bit more in the coming weeks, I think they can, will be very well placed for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me for Manchester United this upcoming season is squad depth. I think, like you say, they've got a decent squad of 11 that are really good players, and then maybe 3-4 off the bench. But I think we saw last season that other than Manchester City, Manchester United used the fewest players in the league. And when you're going into not just having the league and the 2 domestic cups, but also hopefully for Manchester United's sake, going relatively far in the Champions League as well, you're going to need some squad depth. We did a piece, recommended recruits, which is on our YouTube channel. You can check out. There's a Manchester United specific episode. We talk about the sort of players that they might want to recruit and the sort of positions. For me, the main one for them is a winger. I think Leah Galton and Slim Bazette on the wings are fantastic, but just need a few more players to back them up. But we'll wait and see what comes. But in terms of the squad from this season so far, or sort of running on from last season, there's not been many players depart. Only Eva Mannion and Alyssa Ahern have gone permanently. A couple of players out on loan as well. But there's been new contracts for Rachel Williams, Millie Turner and Fallon Tullis-Joyce, as well as an extension for Kira Barry and a first pro contract for Married Griffiths. So although there's not that many players coming in at the moment, Ella, I want to ask you about the sort of continuation from last season and them sort of having the same squad and the same players and that team spirit. How much do you think that's going to help them going into the new season?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot to be said for, players like Millie Turner and Rachel Williams, who both, I think, provide a sense of leadership in the squad and in the dressing room. And, you see the young players that are signing contracts. And I think it is important to have that balance of youth, but also experience. I think Millie Turner, when you look at her time at Manchester United, she's been there right from the beginning. So I think she's really important to the setup there and a real leader, and someone that I think Manchester United have been reliant on in recent seasons. Last season, she started every single game for Manchester United. So when you talk about that depth, I think to lose a player like Millie Turner, United probably cannot afford. So I think her signing is really important. And then, I mean, you look at players like Fallon Tullis-Joyce, who was just so incredible last season. I think Mary Earps left quite big shoes to fill, but she's absolutely risen to the challenge, and 18 clean sheets across 30 matches in all competitions last season. And like one of you said, joint Golden Glove winner with Hannah Hampton. So yeah, she's been absolutely smashing it, and I think that's a real big positive for Manchester United. In terms of the younger players that have signed contracts, obviously that's looking perhaps more to the future, but I think it's important to have those young players who are hopefully going to develop, like I said, under the leadership of some of the more experienced players. So it will be interesting to keep an eye on those young players over the coming seasons.
Yeah, I think there's definitely quite a few young players. I don't know how many of them are sort of ready to break into the first team just yet, but there's definitely a few that, after a loan spell, maybe, Grace Clinton-esque, they may come back with, sort of incredible seasons to come. Connor, let's talk about one of the things that you broke. I don't know can't remember if it was this morning or yesterday, but definitely recently, about Harvey Bussell, the head of recruitment at Manchester United, leaving at the end of this summer. I know this was picked up by The Athletic as well. I just wanted to get you to talk a little bit about that and some of the other sort of backroom changes that we might be seeing at Manchester United, or as much as you're allowed to tell us anyway.
Yeah, there's certainly I guess I can talk about that. Obviously, I'll start with Harvey. Obviously, he's been the head of recruitment for the last couple of years for the women's side. I think it's going to depend who you speak to, whether people see this as a big loss or not. Obviously, this is not somebody who's being made redundant. Obviously, United, since Ineos have come in, have made a lot of staff redundant. This is nothing to do with that. This is purely Harvey wanted to move on. They need to find a replacement. There's a couple of other people that have left. Charlotte Healy left, who was the assistant manager last season. The goalkeeper coach Ian Wilcott left as well. And there's a couple of the analyst whose name escapes me for the time being, but he's going over to Spurs. And I think there's a couple of other departures from the coaching setup and also above the manager as well from the women's side that are still yet to be announced or reported as well that are currently leaving. So I think from that point of view, it's not a great look. When you're looking at it from the outside, it's pretty much a mass exodus of backroom staff, and it's not great. And from that point of view, and I think it does add a bit of context as to why United maybe been a bit slow this summer to act. I think from my understanding, from things I've heard, United have certainly been busy this window, have gone for players. There was interest in players like Sydney Lohman and Jade Rose, both of which have obviously ended up at Manchester City. They were looking at Olivia Smith as well, but the price tag, as we saw, obviously what Arsenal paid, United were never going to pay anything close to that as well. And there's been other players that have either committed their future to the club they're at or signed elsewhere that United just cannot compete with. And I think they've been a bit shocked by the price of the market. The women's game is getting more expensive in terms of the players' fees, wages, and the fees for the players themselves. And I think United have been surprised by that. And it's taken them a while to adjust. And when you've got your head of recruitment leaving at the end of this window, anyone who's left a job will know you're not going to give your all. I'm not saying that Harvey is doing this, but you're not going to give absolutely everything and it's going to be that smooth running process when you know that you're leaving in a couple of weeks anyway. So it's adding a bit of context, I think, to why United have been slow this window. That's not to say they've not done anything, because as I've just mentioned a couple of players there, and there's even more than that. United have tried, but we're not seeing the fast movement and I guess the efficiency that we've seen last summer. Without Champions League, Janssen, Mallard, Turland, these players came in within the first few weeks of the window. It was efficiently done through the door, get them into pre-season. As I said before, we're 2 weeks away from our Champions League qualifiers. One player in who I agree with, Zigotti Olmo, is a fantastic player, but it's in a position in midfield. Yes, we need a defensive midfielder, but we've got about 8 midfielders. We've got one right winger in Celine Bizet, one right back in Jade Rivier, and it's a worry. And only 3 first-team centre-backs when you look at it. And that's only if Janssen drops back to centre-back, which is what I'm expecting for next season. So the squad is thin, and all these backroom staff departures, I don't think help the optics when we're going into those negotiations with players.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that if you're a player that wants to join somewhere, especially if you're going to join for a decent chunk of time as well, you want to go somewhere where you know you're going to be able to progress and that you know that the club is going to progress. And I think, is it 2028 Manchester United have got the sort of goal to win the WSL by? And it needs to be a good overhaul of staff if that's going to be something that's going to happen by that stage, because for so many people to leave and like decent level of people, I know like you mentioned the analysts, I don't know if it's still the case. I know this time last year there was only 2 analysts at the club, so it's not like there's a massive team and it's just one small part of it. That's half the analytics team. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens in that space. But let's have a look ahead to the season coming up, as that is, I guess, the whole point of the episode. I want to talk first about some of the players that we might see, so potential star players for this season. Because we saw, obviously, Fallon Tullis-Joyce stepped into the gloves, I guess, of Mary Earps, and did a fantastic job last season. Maya Le Tissier took the captain's armband, did a great job. Elizabeth Turland coming in, getting a lot of goals and assists, etc. Ella, do you think it's going to be the same sort of names that are going to be the star players this season? Do you see someone else stepping up? Who do you think is going to be that's going to sort of help Manchester United to glory?
Yeah, I think it will be the same sort of people that will step up. Grace Clinton for me is just definitely a one to watch, and I think she really kind of came into her own last season at Manchester United. And I think sometimes I even forget that she's so young, and she's got so much time really to grow as a player even more. Having watched her spells for England, I think you see the quality that she has, and I think she's going to be really important to Manchester United next season. I think also, players like Ella Toone, who provide that kind of leadership on the pitch. I think she's always someone to look out for. But yeah, I think unfortunately for me, I think it's going to be the same sort of people to keep an eye out for next season.
Yeah, Jacob, how about you? Do you think it's going to be the same sort of names, or is there anyone else that you think might be, if you're looking at the underlying numbers as you normally do, who's going to be the sort of star player coming forward?
Yeah, I think I probably agree, and it kind of speaks to our wider point before about the thinness of United's squad. I think you're more likely to see kind of the star players from last season shine through. One thing that I did do in preparation for this pod is I did a bit of an analysis on Elizabeth Turland's goal scoring to basically understand who I thought who was influential last season and who could be influential this season. So towards the end of the season, United put out a YouTube video of all of Elizabeth Turland's goals. I basically watched them all back, and it's really interesting looking at how similar a lot of her goals are. And 6 out of 10 of her goals were scored from United crossing down the right hand side, and either Turland heading or getting on the end of the cross, and that's 3 Celine Bizet crosses, two Jade Rivier crosses, and one JC cross. And although JC has now gone on loan, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her leave for Gotham eventually, I just think that United right hand side will be extremely important again in kind of fueling Elizabeth Turland's goal scoring. So that's what I'd probably say in terms of star players. I think in terms of maybe breakthrough stars or players that might, I don't know, shine through next season, I think Melvin Mallard obviously had a pretty good season for United. Maybe not starting as many games as she wanted. She only started 4 in the league. She had a lot of sub appearances, and in her appearances in WSL, she got 4 goals and 2 assists, which is pretty efficient going for a sub. And then the other one we spoke about, maybe lack of depth in defence and at right back for United. But we saw a bit of Anna Sandberg, young Swedish defender, during last season. She only had 2 starts, but maybe if there are injuries in the United defence, we might see more of her this season. So yeah, that's kind of who I think.
Your sort of squad overview as such. Yeah, I think there's quite a few names on there that, yeah, I guess mostly same as last season. But it's interesting to say about Turland and the stuff coming in off the right, because obviously Turland was new last year, so was Celine Bizet. So it's interesting that they struck up such sort of a partnership of goals and assists. Connor, is there anyone else you want to add to that? And I wanted to ask you as well about sort of young breakthrough stars. And is there anyone else that's sort of you think that didn't necessarily, either wasn't really in the first team picture last season or just didn't play much last season, that you think could be influential this one coming?
Yeah, before I come to that, I think it's interesting actually hearing Grace Clinton's name, and here's a little thing for you. And I think United fans, you're not going to like me saying this. I do. The transfer window's still got a couple of weeks left. I think there is a possibility that she moves on. If I'm being totally honest, this summer, I think that there is Matt Johnson, and I think people in the past around United have made this pretty clear that we're not going to let players run down their contracts anymore and leave for free. Grace Clinton's out of contract next summer, so are a lot of players actually for Manchester United. But I think if anyone is going to leave or not sign a new contract, I think I would be looking and worrying about Grace. So I think that would be one to keep an eye on in the next couple of weeks. I think if she makes it very clear to United she's not going to sign an extension, I think there is a possibility that United go, okay, fine, we'll just move you on this summer, and rather than risk another year. And we've seen what happened with Earps, with Honor, and with Russo, and all these players that left on a free at the end of it. So I think that's one to keep an eye on. I want her to stay, of course. She's an exceptional player. If she stays, I agree, she'll be a key player for United. But I'm still a little bit worried that we might not see her in a United shirt next season. In terms of players to watch out for, I guess, that can break through. From a youngster's point of view, this is going to be difficult because my understanding is pretty much every youngster that is on the verge or is on the fringe of the team is going out on loan, which, I think we'll see a couple of those announced over the next week or so. There's still a couple more to finalise, but most of them are not going to be at the club anyway next season because they'll be at various loans, around England and Europe. So I think outside of that, Simi Awujo, I think, is probably a player I would say to keep an eye on. She didn't really play much last season. She had a brilliant sevens tournament. I know it's a different format, faster format, smaller pitches and goals and everything else, but I think she was exceptional in that tournament. She's played very well in pre-season, I've heard as well. So I think from that point of view, I think she would be somebody to keep an eye on, and somebody a bit different in the United midfield that we've not had over the last couple of years as well. So aside from your big names, your Toons, your Turlands, and Fallon is, I'm sure, will be saving United again next season. I think it's probably Simi in the midfield, to be honest, because there's not too many of the Married Griffiths maybe and Kira Barry, but again, I would like to see them loaned anyway. To a team maybe in the bottom half of the WSL, high half of the Championship / WSL 2 nowadays. So yeah, I'll stick with my Simi answer, but I think it's. I sound really negative. I'm trying to find a really big positive here to talk about United. I've just spoke about Clinton potentially leaving, and I can't think of any youngsters to mention. But the good news is for United fans is the youngsters are very, very talented. Hence why we're seeing them loaned out. Emma Watson is probably the one that is closest to the United first team. I would like to have seen her stay, but it doesn't sound like that's not the case. She will be loaned next season, ready for the first team the year after.
Yeah, I think Simi Wuja, I think if Grace Clinton does go, I know there's been a lot of rumours recently about Arsenal going in for Grace Clinton. Obviously, you've already mentioned about Janssen potentially going back to centre-back. Grace Clinton, a lot of last season, sort of played in that double pivot for United, so that's Janssen and Clinton coming out of that position. So obviously, Zigotiome is probably going to be someone that's going to fill in that sort of place on the field, but Awuja might be one that does as well, so it might be the sort of a good opportunity for her to make a stake in the side this coming season, especially in those opening games. And I think they've started doing pre-season fixtures already. Although, as United, I think most of them tend to be behind closed doors to start with. At least, let's have a look at where we think they're going to finish overall. I think let's not necessarily look at the cup competitions. We know roughly how Manchester United tend to do in those, pretty well in the FA Cup and okay in the Subway Cup, and then we'll see what happens with the Champions League. But in terms of the league, how well do we think they're going to do? I'm going to go first before I pass it around. I'd like everyone to have a go at this one, but I think they're probably going to finish fourth. I think that Arsenal and Chelsea are probably going to be the top two. I don't think there's too much. I don't think anyone's really got to worry about touching them. I think it's mainly a fight for third. I think City are probably going to get there for two reasons. One is they've got a little bit more squad depth, and the other one is that they don't have a fourth competition to compete in. So they haven't got to worry about the Champions League this year because, let's be honest, they weren't good enough last season. And I think for that reason, they might get ahead of Manchester United in the league. If Manchester United go out in the first round of qualification for the Champions League, then it's a different story. But I'd like to think that the English teams should do all right in the first qualifications rounds and that Manchester United should be okay to get through. But yeah, I think Manchester United are still going to finish fourth and probably, to be honest, closer to third than fifth. I'd be less surprised to see them make the Champions League spots again than to see them drop lower. But yeah, that's my prediction. Jacob, let's go to you first. How do you think Manchester United can do this season?
Yeah, I think it's probably between two positions. I think I kind of either see them finishing third or fourth. I think any different would be very, very surprising. As you said, I think Arsenal and Chelsea have strengthened a lot over the transfer window. And I think how I'll feel about United going into the season is very much dependent on the next few weeks and if there's any transfer activity. At the moment, I think I'll put them at third, just because I think last season was very strong for United, and I think hopefully you'll see them kick on and kind of build that momentum. Whereas City, who are probably their challengers for that third place, obviously kind of going into a new era with a new manager. Last season was very disappointing, so it's hard to know what to expect from City. Whereas we've just come out of a pretty positive United season, so I'll go with third. But I think third or fourth is a bit of a toss up at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Ella, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jacob in what he said, that I think it very much is still dependent on the next couple of weeks because, like Connor was saying, if there is even still a possibility of a player like Grace Clinton leaving Manchester United, I think that's very, very significant. I think, like you both have said, Arsenal and Chelsea for me are just pulling so far away from any other team in the league in terms of, money spending. You just look at the quality of the team, and just, when you watch them both play, they just kind of play teams off the park. So I think, and particularly for Arsenal in the latter stages of last season under Renee, under this new era. So I think Arsenal and Chelsea definitely are secured for 1 and 2, and I'd be very surprised if that's not the case. I think for me, Manchester City and Manchester United are at kind of similar standard in terms of kind of quality and where I think they might finish. I think it's really close, but I think like you said, Sam, I think Man City might just finish above Manchester United. I think when you look at the players in their squad, I think they just edge it for me. And when we talk about the Champions League and other competitions, there's a possibility that Manchester United will get far in other competitions. How will that weigh on the squad and the team in the league? So I think I'm gonna put Manchester United fourth for next season.
So we've got fourth, third, fourth, and then the man who said just a few minutes ago, I feel like I'm being really negative about Man United. Connor, where are you going to put Manchester United this season?
Just very quick, when you were going around the panel a second ago and you started off with yourself and you said, I'm going to go first, I thought you meant you were putting United first, and I was like, gee, that's like really...
I'm not insane.
I was thinking that. To be fair, I was going to start questioning your sanity a little bit, but no, even I'm not that. I'm a bit of an optimist, but certainly not putting United anywhere near first position. Oh, this is really tough because I want to say third, right? Because that would be a good season, I think, with United, with all the changes and hopefully new players coming in over the next couple of weeks. I think it will be, as we sit today, I would say fourth. If United can convince Clinton to stay and sign at the very least 2 forwards, then third is a possibility. The problem United are going to have next season is that we had this last season. We can't score. We can defend very well. We're very good at in a defensive shape, but we do not create that many chances and we do not score as many goals. Look at the forward line City have got. They've got goals everywhere. We don't. And I think when you're relying on Rachel Williams, has been a great player over the years. Same with Galton. That's 2 out of the 5 attackers we've got. The other 3 are Mallard, Turner, and Bizet. That is it. That is Manchester United's attack going into next season. We are at the very least 2 forwards short to compete in the top 3. So as we stand at the moment, I'll say fourth. If United can get 2 forwards in and a defender, then third is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, I think that all sounds fair enough, and yeah, very well done not actually committing to one of those or the other. But yeah, like we say, we're recording this on the 11th of August, so there's still a decent amount of time left in the window, and who knows what's going to happen. And obviously there's injuries afoot as well. I think we can all probably agree that if Manchester City hadn't lost Lauren Hemp and Bunny Shaw for half season each, then they probably wouldn't have finished 1 point behind Manchester United, and sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But let's have a look ahead to Aerial Fantasy. I was about to call it the wrong name then, but they have rebranded recently. Listener, if you don't know already, or viewer, if you don't know already, Fantasy WSL has rebranded. We're still sort of partnering with them this coming season, but they are now Aerial Fantasy going forward. Let's have a look at who we think is going to be like. This might be kind of similar to the answers we've just given, but who's going to be like a must-have player this season? Ella, I'm going to come to you first because I think that, it might be the same kind of players that we've just said, but who do you think are going to be the ones that are going to be scoring all the clean sheet points or getting all the goals?
When it comes to Fantasy WSL, I'm far from the expert. I didn't play last season, but I'm going to have to get involved this season, I think. But when it comes to players to pick, I think it's probably Elizabeth Turlin for me, because, we saw goals and assists from her last season in the WSL. She actually exceeded her XG, her expected goals and expected assists last season. And I think Manchester United, maybe didn't score, like you said, Connor, as many goals as they would have liked. But I think in terms of her individual contribution, she was actually involved in 36.6% of Manchester United's goals last season. So when they do come, she's usually the person that's involved. So for me, I think as well, when you look at other forwards in fantasy WSL, like Sam Kerr, Bunny Shaw, I think she's probably maybe a more reasonable price to pick. So I'm going to go for Turland.
Yeah, I think Bunny Shaw is probably going to be one of, if not the most expensive player once again this season. Whereas Turland, I think Turland last year was about 2 million cheaper. And I think I had her, Fallon Joyce, and Maya Letitia in. I think I had the second two for pretty much. I think I had the second two actually all season, and I had Turland for a decent chunk of it as well. Connor, how about you? Who are your sort of big picks for Manchester United this year?
I think Turland and Mayer are probably the two standouts, because Turland is very likely to obviously start. Well, and Mayer, both of them will start pretty much every game if they're fit anyway. Mayer actually takes more set pieces than people believe as well. So if United get some penalties, Mayer can get those as well, which is helpful. I'm trying to think of a different name for you. Jade Rivier, there's someone I'll throw at you because, as has already been mentioned, I don't know what the official stat is, but I would say, I'm just going to say 95% of our attacks come down the right. That's not the correct number. Do not quote me on that, but it's a lot, is what I'm trying to say. Most of our attacks come down the right.
It's fine, Connor. It's not like we're a stats podcast or anything. You're fine. You can make them up.
I was debating whether I should say that or not, but one of you guys can correct me. You guys are the experts on the stats there, but certainly a lot of our attacks come down the right. So Jade Rivier is a massive, massive part of that, and a defender as well. So yeah, if you want a different name, I'll throw someone like her into the mix.
Yeah, I think that Jade Rivier might have been, judging by the reaction, and if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, you listen to this as well, judging by Jacob's reaction, I think that might have been the name that was about to come out of his mouth as well, was it?
It was, yeah. I think Jade Rivier would be a really good pick. I think you've got a player in the United defence who kept a lot of clean sheets last season. Jade Rivier also contributed assists, so I think that's a really good pick. The other one I'll say to differ from what's already been said, but a name that we've mentioned throughout the pod is Fallon Joyce. I think it's been a hectic couple of days in regard to the Fantasy WSL and now Aerial Fantasy rebrand, as I think it was on Saturday when the news was announced, and my Twitter was going crazy. But now that there's been the rebrand and it's confirmed that it's Aerial Fantasy, we're now getting price reveals, and I think there were keeper price reveals maybe yesterday as of recording, and Fallon Joyce, unsurprisingly, is the most expensive keeper alongside Hannah Hampton. I think they're both 6 million. So it's a toss up. Do you pay the premium to get a keeper who kept the joint most clean sheets last season? I think yes, and I think Tallis Joyce will get save points, will get bonus points. We'll definitely not get visionary points because she'll be highly owned, but I think she'll be in a lot of people's teams come the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I think she's probably going to be in mine as well, because I think Manchester United have one of the more favourable opening sort of couple of fixtures. It's Leicester and then Lunsey Lionesses, who, yes, I know Lunsey Lionesses have invested well, but they haven't had that much time to gel yet. So I think playing them early on is probably the best time. Jacob, before you run away, you mentioned visionaries there as well. Is there anyone from Manchester United who you think might be a good visionary?
I think it's a difficult question because it comes back to what we've been saying over the course of the pod, is that United have a very strong starting 11, but maybe outside of that, not so much. I think maybe the one player who I'd say who maybe goes a bit under the radar if she ends up starting on the left for United is Leah Goulton. I think it'll be interesting to see whether it's Goulton or maybe Mallard that starts on the left. But I think I'm not sure if Goulton will kind of qualify as a visionary, because I'm sure she'll still be relatively highly owned, but I think a lot of United's players will be. Goulton had 5 goals and 2 assists last season, which is strong, and I think she would often go under the radar compared to a lot of other United's other forward and kind of attacking scoring players like Turland, like Bizet, like Clinton, who obviously scored quite a lot of goals last season as well. So I'll go Goulton, but I think a lot of United's players will be very highly owned.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much whoever ends up taking that left wing spot is probably going to be the only person that's realistically close to being both a visionary and useful to have in. I've put my France shirt on tonight because I think if Melvin Mallard ends up in that spot, I think she could be a really good visionary pick. I think she's so underrated. I think she's so good. And to be honest, if I was her, I'd definitely be wanting to be at a club where I'm starting. But I suppose if she's getting some sub appearances and getting a bit of Champions League football at the same time, that might be all she needs. Okay, that's pretty much Manchester United's 25-26 covered. Obviously, we are still a few weeks away from the season, so we'll see how accurate those are. Hopefully, not too many of those predictions will come back to bite us in the bum, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we're going to move on to Know Your Stat. So if you don't know, listener/viewer, Know Your Stat is our game on the podcast. It's essentially a game of categories. I'm going to be giving our three panelists a category. The answers, they will rattle off one by one. If they take too long, or if they give an incorrect answer, or if they repeat someone else's answer, they are out. And it's whoever gives the most correct answers wins. I've got 3 rounds. If you all win one each, I will give you a 4th round. And as per, the 4th round is the least pleasant of the 3. So it gives you all the more motivation to win 2. The first round, we'll start off with Ella first, as it's your first appearance. Then we'll go to Connor and then Jacob. I would like you to name for me any of the 20 players that were at any point an unused sub in the 24-25 season for Manchester United. So they have to have been sat on the bench and done the full match without coming on. So, we're going to start off with Ella.
I think this Know Your Stat section, I know I'm going to struggle here, but I'm gonna go for a guess. Kira Barry?
Kira Barry, unfortunately, was not on the bench at all last season.
Oh.
So did not feature as an unused sub. So on to Connor.
Married Griffiths.
Married Griffiths was 4 times. Correct answer. Jacob.
Aoife Mannion.
Aoife Mannion 5 times. Back to Connor.
This is just purely WSL, right? If it is, Simi Awujo.
Yeah, Simi Awujo is a correct answer. 8 times.
Anna Sandberg.
Anna Sandberg only once, but correct answer nonetheless.
Safia Middleton Patel.
Yep, every single game. She's the only player that is on the list more than 8 times.
Melvie Mallard.
Melvie Mallard 3 times, correct answer.
Kayla Rendell.
Kayla Rendell 7, correct answer as well. A lot of double keeper on the bench.
Rachel Williams.
Rachel Williams 4 matches, correct answer.
Lisa Nalsand.
Lisa Nalsand also 4, correct answer. This is going on for longer than I thought it would this round. You're doing very well.
Leah Goulton.
Leah Goulton is an incorrect answer. She did not have a single game where she was an unused sub. So that means that Connor wins.
I was going to say Emma Watson next, so I'm kind of glad you got that wrong, because I didn't know whether Emma was going to be a correct one or not.
Emma was a correct answer. She was actually an unused sub 7 times, the 3rd most in the Manchester United squad. But Connor takes round 1. Well done.
I really did misinterpret that question, by the way, so that's really my bad.
No worries. We'll see if you do any better on the next one. So the next one is going to be Jacob to go first, then Ella, then Connor. I would like you to name for me, this one's teams. So any team that Manchester United have kept a clean sheet against in the WSL since the start of the 2021 season, as in 2020/2021 season. There are 12 teams on the list that Manchester United have kept a clean sheet against. And Jacob to start.
Tottenham.
Tottenham, you said that with such disgust in your voice almost, but yes, they are a correct answer.
Wait, Sam, sorry, did you say since the 2021 season?
Yes, the 2020/21 season.
Oh, in that season?
Yeah, so from that season onwards.
Right. Okay.
Obviously
Everton?
up to last season included. Yep, Everton are a correct answer.
There's so many I can say. Since 2021, Bristol City.
Bristol City are correct.
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace, yep. This season just gone.
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa are correct.
I'm trying to remember what's been said already. My memory's terrible at the moment. 2021. Reading?
Reading are correct. It's a bold move, Colin, to do this without a pen
I
and
was
paper, by the
thinking
way.
that then.
Go on, Jacob.
Leicester.
Leicester are correct, yep. Ella?
I've lost count now. I should have started. Liverpool.
Liverpool are correct. There's only
I don't
4
know whether it's
teams
been
left.
said or not. I'm going to say Arsenal.
Arsenal are a correct answer. I didn't note down exactly how many, but I'm pretty sure it's only happened once in that time. But yes. Correct answer. So there's only 3 to go now. So it could be 1 correct answer each. And it'll be a first for the pod.
West Ham.
West Ham are correct. Ella?
Man City. Has that been said?
Man City has not been said, but unfortunately is an incorrect answer.
Oh.
Manchester United have not kept a clean sheet against Man City in the last 5 seasons.
It says 2 then.
Connor,
West Ham was
2
going to
answers
be my
left.
1, but I'm going to say, has Brighton been said?
Brighton has not been said, and it is a correct answer. So there is only 1 answer left, Jacob. If you get it now, that means you take the round. If not, Connor has the chance to take it.
Well, I think we've said all the current WSL teams except Chelsea, which I don't think it is, but that's all I've got in my head, so I'll go Chelsea.
Chelsea is an incorrect answer. So, Connor, this is your chance to win it. If not, it goes back to Jacob.
Oh, my life. I'm trying to think who it... I've already said Reading and Bristol. They both went down. Palace have been said.
Jacob did give you a clue that all the other WSL teams have now been said, as in current WSL teams.
By that logic, I'd say Crystal Palace, but I think that's already been said, isn't it?
Crystal Palace has indeed already been said by Jacob. So back to Jacob then.
I'm not sure. I'll go Birmingham.
It is.
Yeah, and Connor has just
we beat
realised
them
that Jacob has
2-0
taken the
away.
round.
Ella Toon scored, and yeah.
It is indeed
remember it.
Birmingham. So that's 1 each for you two so far as we go into the final round. So if Ella wins this, then it will go to the deciding round. But if
I'm
not,
sure that'll be unlikely.
We'll crown a victor. Well, we'll wait and see. This one's going to be Connor first, then Jacob, then Ella. I would like you to name for me the 15 players that had the most touches in the attacking third for Manchester United last season in the WSL. So the players that had the most touches in the attacking third. Connor to go first.
Celine Bizet.
That is a correct answer. She was second. Jacob.
Elizabeth Turland.
Yeah, she was 6th.
Rachel Williams.
Rachel Williams. I'm so sorry, but she is 16th.
Oh my god, that is miles off it as well.
She is 16th. She had 14 touches fewer than the 15th place, so just misses the cut, unfortunately. Back to Connor. Ella Toon is number 1 with 405.
Leah Goulton.
Leah Goulton is correct. She was 4th.
In the attacking third?
In the attacking third. See, it's difficult because it's not necessarily the players that are the forwards that always have the attacking touches or that play the most. Grace Clinton is 3rd, so that is the top 4 all taken care of now.
Jade Rivier.
Jade Rivier was 7th.
Gabby George.
Gabby George was 5th, which surprised me, but yeah. That's the top 7 all done now in your first 7 guesses.
Melvin Mallard.
Melvin Mallard was 10th.
This feels like a bit of a risk, but I'm going to say Hinata Miyazawa.
Miyazawa was 9th, more than Mallard, amazingly.
I was going to say Miyazawa. I'll go Dominique Janssen.
She was 8th on the list. Correct answer. And that is now, with your first 10 guesses,
How many
the
did you
top
say there
10
were? 12
done.
or 15? So
15.
Okay, yeah, I feel more confident now. Lisa Nalsund.
Lisa Nalsund, you say you feel more confident, but she had less touches than Rachel Williams with just 57. So she is 17th.
I was going to say someone else as well. If you tell me they're in the top 15, Nalsund isn't.
Jacob, I need a correct answer from you to take the round and to take the game.
Maya Letizier.
Maya Letizier is a correct answer with 82. She was 13th on the list. So Jacob wins.
Nicely done.
Correct, and very well done. Connor, who was the one that you
I was going to
didn't
say
that we're
Jace,
thinking
but I
of?
thought she's only been here half a season, and even then didn't play every single minute. But would she have been in there?
Yeah, she actually had more than double the touches of Nalsund in the final third with 130. She was 11th on the list. The other players that you could have had that you didn't say, Anna Sandberg was 12th, Eva Mannion was 14th, and Millie Turner was 15th. So, yeah. But similar to some of the other rounds, to be honest, you did a lot better than I thought you would. Normally on these rounds, people get like 2 or 3, and then everyone's out. So the fact that you've got sort of 4, 5, 6 each is pretty good, and that means I won't succumb you to the final round of horrid question that I conjured up. So well done, Jacob. You take the game, and I think I might post this on socials at some point, but you now overtake Izzy as well as the person that has won the most Know Your Stat matches in the top of the leaderboard.
I feel honoured. There was a turning point a few Know Your Stats ago for me, where if I had lost, my record would have been abysmal. So I'm on a half decent run now. Yeah.
Well, you've won 50% of the match. You've played 10, won 5, which is pretty good. Only people that have played once have a better sort of win percentage than you. Yeah, Connor and Ella, you're going to have to come back at some point to.
It was a horror show.
The rankings.
An absolute horror show. But I will redeem myself. I'll be back. You
will be back. We've got you booked on already for another couple of episodes later in August. You might even get ahead of Jacob's. Jacob, you're on holiday for a bit. You're not on for a while, so you've, Tom and Izzy as well have got a bit of an opportunity to overtake you again. But yes, thank you, listener. Thank you, viewer, wherever you are watching or listening to this, for joining us today. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Connor, for coming on as well. Connor, I just wanted to give you a little chance to plug some of the other work you do, because obviously you're not just someone that comes on Decoding the WSL once a year. You do a little bit of other stuff as well.
Yeah,
don't
you could say that to a certain extent. Yeah, so anything United Women related is over on All for United WFC, where live shows will be back fairly soon. We've taken a little bit of a break, which is unlike us, really, but live shows will be back pretty soon. But all of the socials are All for United WFC on there. And I also write for the Cutback as well, which is more of an analysis side of things, which has got a lot of amazing writers on there as well. So, yeah, and my Twitter is literally just my name, which I've been dropping more and more, I guess, exclusives over on this summer as well, which has been quite good. So, yeah, that's everything I can plug, I guess.
Could I make one point? Sorry. Just because I've just had a look on Twitter, sorry, and Aerial Fantasy have dropped some of the defender prices for next season, and just because we were speaking about her, Maya Letizier is 8 million, so that will set you back a lot of money. The same as Lucy Bronze and Katie McCabe. So yeah, interesting price reveals there.
I think that's probably fair, to be honest, because she's just going to get, like, Lucy Bronze and Katie McCabe might get a few assists and goals, whereas Maya Letizier will get some penalties and basically a clean sheet every other game. So yeah, I'm not overly surprised that she's that high. But yeah, thank you for that. It's good to know. And if you don't already, listener/viewer, go and follow Aerial Fantasy as well on Instagram, Twitter, wherever, or X, wherever you want. I think they're on TikTok as well. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that jazz. You can follow at Decoding the WSL on Instagram. And if you're not watching this on YouTube already, do check out the YouTube channel. You can watch all of our podcasts, as well as a couple of recommended recruits episodes that we've done. There's one for Arsenal, which is a little out of date because Arsenal have actually signed some players, but the Manchester United one largely still stands for the upcoming season, albeit it is about a month old. So do go check that out. But yeah, thank you to the three of you for coming on. Thank you, listener/viewer, for joining us, and we will see you at the next one.